All right, what's up, y'all? Today is Monday, September 22nd. Do not be confused. Yes, I switched out my hair. Listen, I had to try some new products and it wasn't doing what I needed to do. So we had to pivot. I was trying to do my same like little fluff, my little afro curly coily fluff, but it wasn't working out. So do not be confused. Today is the first day that we are doing Kenya. It is from the same video where my hair was poofy and I was wearing my Kenya shirt and my Kenya necklace, which is so beautiful. So let's get into Kenya. Let me say that Kenya is such a beautiful and amazing country. Can we just start there? I know that Kenya is popular for like the Serengeti. I know that people go to Tanzania and Kenya for safari travel. But when I tell y'all, there are experiences for any traveler type that you have, there are experiences for that. In Kenya, we were doing rooftop parties. I stayed at a beachfront resort, Black owned. Hello. And I literally had one of the best experiences in my whole life. And not just a travel experience, literally just like one of the best experiences that I've ever had in my entire life was in Kenya outside Nairobi. So I will get into that later on in the week when we are talking about things that you can do in Kenya. But for today, we're just going to do a little mini deep dive into the culture and Kenya and the country and what they're all about and how they're different than other countries. I mentioned earlier that East Africa and West Africa are a bit different, right? So I was talking about, and I cut this out in the video that I posted, but if you watched live, you will have heard me talking about how Kenya or East Africa, West Africa, all of the different regions, central, northern, southern, they all have different like personalities and vibes, right? The same way that we have the West Coast, we have the East Coast, we have Southern, Midwest. All of these different regions within the US have their own like flavor, their own vibe. Each state in the US is different, but all of the Southern states have some commonalities and similarities. All of the Eastern states have commonalities and similarities. All of the Western states have commonalities and similarities. So where you can kind of pinpoint a little bit where people are from based on their accent, their tone, how they dress, what their interests are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we are going to delve into Kenya, which is our first country on East Africa, and that will help you just kind of see some of the differences, right? So as always, we're going to start at connectmetoafrica.com. I'm going to add that to the stage. Cool. So now I'm just going to go ahead. You can always go to destinations and then click Kenya, but for me, it's just easier to type it in here. So Kenya, we're going to get our basic information. So for those of you questioning if Kenya has paved roads, oh my goodness, yes, they do. For those of you questioning if all of the buildings are made out of like mud, no. We see that it is a full city. This is Nairobi, a picture of Nairobi. We have our parking lot, we have our paved roads, we have our skyscrapers. So that's just one view. There's other views, pictures that I'll show you guys later where we be able to see a little bit more. So let's delve into the Discover Kenya section. The Republic of Kenya is known as Silicon Savannah for its achievements in technology, right? So when we're looking at tech and the tech world and the tech scene, Kenya is really doing well when it comes to tech. And I know that when I was in Kenya, I was doing interviews because I was building the first team of people who worked on the Kinnect app. And they had designers and stuff making $30 an hour. Beginning. Okay, beginning. Shoot, there's a lot of people in America not making $30 an hour. Now, that is not a lot of money compared to what designers and like engineers and developers make in the US. But for people who are thinking that, oh, people are only making $1, $2 or something like that, and you're thinking about if you will be able to afford to live in an African country and work in an African country or whatever, I can do real well on $30 an hour in America. Okay. I can definitely pull some things off if I'm doing $30 an hour in Kenya. So let's be very clear about that. So they have a really thriving, really booming tech scene, which is where Silicon Savannah name comes from. And it's also known as the cradle of humanity for its contributions to evolution and paleontology. And okay, we'll get into that later. So the Big Five and the Great Migration make Kenya a unique place for experiencing a safari. So the Great Migration, if I'm not mistaken, it's buffaloes, and it's thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And if you've seen videos of them, I can show you guys a video. You see thousands and thousands and thousands of them just running through. It's something that, even though I support going to Africa for the food, the culture, and the people, it's something that I would definitely be open to experiencing if I was able to. That's something that is on people's bucket list, as well as just being able to see the Big Five. I saw some lions in Senegal, which was really cool. And, I got to pet some, and I was terrified because I was touching the kittens or the cubs. I don't know. Are they kittens? I don't know. But I was terrified because they could for real, like, kill me if they wanted to. You know what I mean? So definitely there are some things that people want to see, going to the Serengeti and being able to see the Great Migration, or being able to see the Big Five is something that a lot of people are interested in when it comes to Kenya. Just seeing these animals just like trek from one area to the next as they migrate for the season. Okay, so cool. Moving on and going back to our website. Oops, not it. So let's talk about a little of the population. Kenya's population right now is at, they take the census every 10 years or so. So the exact numbers are not up to date, but it'll be like the last time they did the census plus kind of an estimated number of how many people were born since the last census. So it has over 58,000 people. So when we were talking about Ghana, they are around 34, 35, somewhere around that million people. So we know that population size, Kenya has more people. The capital city is Nairobi, and the time zone UTC is +3. Kenya is an 11-hour time zone from California during daylight saving time, right? 11 hours is a big difference. So when I had members of my team in Kenya, when I came back to California, and that's why I extended my trip and I was gone outside of America for so long. Even when I left Africa, I went to Paris because I was like, I do not want to deal with that time difference between someone on my team. Like, they're asleep, I'm awake, they're asleep type thing. So big deal when it comes to jet lag and just being able to prepare for your trip. So the best time to travel throughout Kenya, we have December to March when it comes to best weather, and then July to September for the Great Migration. So if you want to see that, participate in that, then you would go somewhere between July and September. Now, the primary airport is Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and the currency that they use is the Kenya shilling. And I can show you guys some Kenya shilling. Kenya has some of the prettiest money that I've ever seen. And then the number of tribes we have is 42. The number of languages is 61. So they have about approximately 42 different ethnic groups and 61 countries. And when it comes to number of languages, I'm including all languages that are spoken in the country. So that includes English. It's not only the countries for the different ethnic groups. It's not only the countries that are native to that country in particular, but it's like all of the languages that are spoken in that country. So if they have a high population of people from like India, they might speak Indian or, whatever. It's just like there will be changes. Is Indian a language? I just said that, but when it just came out of my mouth, yes. Okay. Anyway, the official language is Swahili. I love, 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 love Swahili. So, one thing that I really loved about Swahili that I didn't know, I knew that Circle of Life had Swahili and Zulu in it. And I knew that there were like Akuna Matata was Swahili, but I actually didn't know like Akuna Matata means no worries, but I didn't realize that Akuna meant no. Like I didn't realize it was a literal translation. Like Akuna literally means no. And so when I think of Akuna Matata, I think of it as this positive, happy thing. It's just like no worries, no sweat, we're not pressed. But Hakuna means no. So I was like, oh, dang, it's actually not as positive and vibey as I thought. So going to Tanzania is where I actually heard the most Swahili. But being there and then learning that, oh my goodness, Simba means lion. What? Oh my goodness, Rafiki means friend. Like I didn't realize that we actually were being in some way taught Swahili through the Lion King. Like I knew there were some words, but I just didn't realize that. And that was something that was super like surprising to me that I really, really, really enjoyed. So, what are some things that make Kenya a little bit different or stand out? So, these are some achievements and accolades. It says June 1st, 1963, Kenya attained internal self rule after being a British colony since 1920. So, for 43 years, they were colonized and then they broke free. Jomo Kenyatta was sworn in as the prime minister, which is why the national airport is named after him. I got that. And then Madaraka Day is the annual celebration commemorating this feat. So if you are interested in going for what is their version of like 4th of July, their Independence Day, you would want to be there in June. For their first step towards independence to when he became a prime minister. When they actually transitioned and got their full independence to become a republic and then got a president, that's in December. Okay. So December 12th, 1963, same year, a few months later, so there's two celebrations. The Madaraka Day is for their initial step. And then December is more of their July 4th, not so much the Madaraka. But there's two celebrations for both of those. And in the same year, that's what happened. So we have Jamhuri Day for their actual independence for December 12th, 1963. Then it says a republic is formed. So a year later, right? So we have the start of the independence, and then they got Jamhuri Day. But the actual time that the republic was formed was exactly 12 months later in 1964. And that's when they became a republic and he became president. All right. So, popular cities. Here, I may add more popular cities, but the two most popular are Nairobi, which the airport is in Nairobi. So it says 10 miles. It's very close. Like you're in Nairobi once you land. And then you have Mombasa, which is a little bit of a ways away. You can fly, you can take a train. There's multiple modes of transportation to get into Mombasa. Mombasa surprised me. Now, Mombasa is right on the beach. That's where I stayed at the beachfront resort, right? It's right on the beach. And it is so humid. So the weather differences between Nairobi and Mombasa are quite extensive. And I'll get into that a little bit. We're going to touch just a little tiny bit onto that. Here are some excursions. You guys want to see some excursions? I'm about to skip to the know before you go section so we can get a little bit more about weather and other things. But we see that there's lots of animals. We see that there's lots of animals. We love animals. Animals are great. But then we also have some cultural events as well. So this is the Beads Bomas and Carnivore Dinner. I'm going to refresh the page because we know that whenever we refresh the page, we get a new set of excursions. I'm going to drop down to the excursions and experiences. And now we have Mount Kenya climb. We have the Masai Mara if you want to stay out there. So when I was talking about the greatest experience I've ever had in my life was me staying with the Masai Mara tribe. It was not on a safari though. It was somewhere totally different. So there are going to be an overwhelming number of safaris and animal adventures because that's what most people sell as far as travel experiences. When I tell y'all, you go to Kenya for the same reason that you go anywhere else. And some of those are not going to be excursions. They may have city tours and tours and things like that, walking tours and all sorts of different tours like that. But you just going to hang out, whether it's nightlife, whether it's to do business, whether it's for tech conventions. I was there for a tech convention. Yeah, I went to one. I was like, did I go to multiple tech conventions? I think I only went to one tech convention, but I also went to a lot of networking events and stuff as well in Kenya. So they have a lot going on. So we're going to go through just a couple of these before we wrap it up for today and then save some things for tomorrow. So again, we have know before you go section. There's visa requirements, things to pack, climate and weather, emergency contacts, budget and currency, customs and culture, safety and security, and health requirements. We're going to go to customs and culture. And it tells us that 86% of the people there are Christian, 11% are Muslim, and 3% are none or other. So it is primarily a Christian country. And we see that the climate varies. So like I was saying, Nairobi and Mombasa are two totally and completely different places. But Nairobi has pretty temperate climate throughout the year, with the average temperatures being around like 63 to 79 degrees throughout the year. Now, it does rain. They have like a rainy season for sure. And when I went there, it was a little bit cooler, but it definitely wasn't cold. And sometimes it would be sunny and then, or sunny-ish, it might be like a little overcast or something, and then it would rain, but it wasn't super cold. So those are just a couple of things for you guys to just get a kind of decent start to think about, okay, what is Kenya like? What is Kenya about? You see how many people are there. You see like the number of the different cultures. Primarily, the Masai Mara is what's focused on, but we see that they have over 40 ethnic groups, which is a lot of different ethnic groups. And then the safety rating is what? Oh my goodness. It's super safe to go to Kenya. What? So level 1 is like barely any crime ever happened, right? Level 2 is, yeah, this is crime that happens like all around the world, like regular, just might be pickpocketing in some countries. It might be like small things. So this says the Global Peace Index rates Kenya at a 2.41 out of 5. 1 is the most peaceful. 5 is you might get hurt out there. Kenya is 2.41. Global Peace Index. These are two different ratings. Level 2, exercise increased caution, is from the US Embassy. And the Global Peace Index is something totally different. So we have two organizations saying that Kenya is very safe, right? The majority of crimes are offenses against people where men were the primary target. So stealing, robbing, doing something to a man. Not saying that women are completely like super safe, nothing will ever happen to you, but just getting a sense of where that 2.4 comes from. Why are they not at level 1, or why are they not at 1 out of the 1 through 5 scale? Is like, oh, okay, usually stealing. So that is the second highest reported crime. And then near the Somalia border, there might be a little bit of terrorism, but just don't go to the Somalia border, right? It's like if people are doing something in one city in the US, you gonna not go to the whole US? Just go to a city that's different than the US. Go to a different city in the US, right? You don't have to go to where there's going to be crime. All right. And so as usual, we have like some videos, or not videos here. I just have some photos, but this was from a water park that I went to, and I was like, oh snap, Kenya got a nice little water park. Let me take pictures so I can show people that there are other things to do in Kenya besides safaris. Right. That part. And this is the museum. It's beautiful and amazing. I really, really, really highly recommend going to the museum to learn about the culture. This was a restaurant that I went to. One thing that is really nice about Kenya is they have a lot of rooftop places, a lot of rooftop restaurants and places that you can go and hang out. And you'll see that on the opposite side of this highway, you have the city, and then on the other side is, like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the Serengeti. But I know that's where animals and stuff be. Now, it's not as deep into like the Serengeti going all into Tanzania and all that. But just knowing that you have, I mean, as far as you can see, just land. It is just land. And knowing that, wow, like that's full of animals. And then directly on the other side of the highway, you have the city, which is beautiful and really great. So let's see some other pictures. So this is when I went to, you guys see a lot of like Giraffe Manor on TikTok and Instagram and things like that. Giraffe Manor is super, super, super expensive. I definitely recommend you go if you want, for sure. I want to be up in there. But in the same area, these are the same giraffes at Giraffe Manor. So they have like a little giraffe center, and the house is just right next to this center. So if you really want to go see giraffes and you don't have a couple racks per night to like go stay over there, then you can feed the giraffes and see the giraffes, which is really cool. They also have Safari by Hot Air Balloon, which is like a really unique experience. So I haven't done this. If I was to go on a safari, I would definitely want to do something more like this. I'm not the, oh, I'm about to go drive and hope that we see animals and be out there hot and sweaty and stanky for days. That's not my vibe. That might be other people's vibe. If you got nature as like your primary or one of your top, that might be your vibe. But for me, something like this is really nice where you get to see the animals. I also get to have like this adventurous kind of experience through the hot air balloon. So something like this is more for me. Like I'm saying, there's experiences for literally any type of travel style that you have, right? And so this is just another picture somewhere either in Mombasa or along the coast because Kenya is a coastal country. It's not a landlocked country. And let's just take a second to admire the beauty. Mm, right. And this picture is one of the Maasai men that I saw. This is not one of the Maasai men that I stayed with when I stayed with them in Mount Suswa. This is in Nairobi for an event that happened, and we were at Bomas, Kenya, which shows their traditional housing. And it was amazing learning about all the different styles that the different ethnic groups used and why they use the materials they use, why they use the shapes they use. All of that stuff is so intentional when learning, like, wow, we look at them and say, oh, they're huts, or we think that they're primitive. No, they were constructed and designed with so much intelligence. They were very, 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 very well thought out. They had strategic plans as to why a house would look like this instead of like this, and who was in which hut and how that arrangement was very important to making sure that the family was safe from like tribal wars and things like that. So we'll go through more pictures and things later. We are at 20 minutes in, so we are going to end this live session for today. But let me know any questions that you guys have about Kenya because I can answer them during the live session. Now, we're going to be focused on Kenya for the rest of this week. So we have 4 more topics to go through. And on tomorrow's Connect in the morning, I will be sharing the topic for tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in at some point, even if you don't watch it in the morning, check it so that you are prepared with your questions for tomorrow. All right. So I will see you guys tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Eastern to talk more about Kenya. All right. See you then. Thanks so much. Bye.